Hey guys, Mike James here. I'm the founder of the Supreme Man. I've put together this video tutorial to explain to you how you can go about attracting amazingly hot and beautiful women. I've broken the video down into two parts, and there is a blog article which accompanies each part as well. The second part I shall release tomorrow if you're looking at this video on the day I release it. So, what am I going to cover? Well, I'm going to go through a number of aspects. I'll explain to you why and what it is that society and men in general determine as being beautiful women, and what fundamentally on a deeper level is really what beautiful means. May be obvious to many of you, some of you maybe not thought about it. I'll also explain the specific character traits that women find, particularly hot women, find very attractive. I think all women find them attractive, but you have to have these if you're going to attract beautiful women. I will explain the most common mistakes that guys make when it comes to interacting and attempting to attract hotties, and I'll also explain to you the steps you can take in preparation to put yourself in the best possible position for when you actually decide to go out and start talking to and naturally attracting these stunning hot women that no doubt there are in your town or city. And then I'll very quickly tell you what I'm going to do in part 2. So I guess from a generic perspective we would say, I think we all agree that a beautiful woman is a woman that is pretty, good looking and has a great physique, keeps herself in shape. From a looks perspective, I think that's very much down to personal preference, but there are certain attributes of facial features which a majority of guys will find more attractive than others. Clearly a more angular face with relatively symmetric looks, it tends to be more attractive, although not perfect, because it's been shown in studies that perfect features aren't actually as attractive for those that have slight imperfections. But clearly those that are heavily asymmetric are less attractive. From a physique perspective, I think it's pretty clear. For most guys, they go for women that are generally typical hourglass figures. However, the variance in those hourglass figures in terms of the percentage between the hips, shoulders and waist can vary depending on your own genetic preference. However, it's really important to say that from a guy's perspective, I don't think you really need me to tell you this, it is the first thing and the most obvious thing that we notice when spotting a woman. You know, we don't immediately pick up the energy from a woman, or don't immediately pick up that she's got a great personality from across the room. We see what she looks like and her physique and immediately find her physically attractive or not. However, there are some, and in my experience probably a minority, of beautiful women who aren't particularly pleasant, and in theory you want to try and attract those which are very beautiful on the inside as well. So consequently you need to be taking a position where you're confident that you will be able to assess beautiful women by not only their exterior but also their interior qualities and characteristics, the interests they have, and ultimately the compatibility that she may well have with you. Bizarrely, you can look at it like a business deal, and what's the risk assessment? You know, at the end of the day, if you compromise your desire for interest, compatibility and qualities just because you've met a bird that's smoking hot, a credible figure that can bounce coins off her stomach, then you are going to be giving away a lot of your desires just to compromise for the looks and physique, and invariably I would expect that relationship to break down if you do end up involved with her. So look at all aspects of a woman and then make your own decision as to which bits are most important to you, and if you want to get involved with her on a serious level, then make your own definition of beautiful before you do so. However, this particular video tutorial is focusing on women that are incredibly good looking, and hopefully you'll meet those that have got fantastic interiors as well. So what are the character traits that very beautiful women tend to go for? Well, it's pretty clear, regardless of their interior characteristics and qualities, the extremely beautiful women will generally attract a lot of attention from men. So consequently they have the choice and normally they tend to go for high status men. Occasionally they do have some quirks, and they may like, geeky men or particularly intellectual men, but generally speaking, very hot women will select high status men. And why is that? Well, when I say high status, I'm referring to those that are naturally so. So they may have a great deal of money. And what does money give these guys? Well, chaps, money would generally give guys the ability to project power. If a guy's managed to accumulate a lot of money over his life, then he's either done so in a position that's a leadership position where he has a great deal of power, or he has been extremely innovative and clever and managed to generate some money in that fashion. But generally speaking, women will associate money with power and leadership, and both of which are indicative of an alpha type male character, so they will generally gravitate towards that kind of guy. He will normally have a lot of people responsible on him if he's perhaps runs his own business or a senior executive in an organisation. So this is why women like that type of thing. Confidence. So high status men invariably have high levels of confidence because the power and the leadership and the money that they have gives them the ability to know that they have a good chance with the vast majority of women that they decide to speak to. So if they have a lot of women's attention and they talk to a lot of women, that gives them increased levels of confidence with any woman that they speak to. So that's naturally attractive. In addition, high status men, even if they aren't actually naturally good looking, they will come across as being apparently good looking because they will have made the best of a bad thing if they're not great looking guys, and if they are kind of average or better, then they will probably be dressing well, extremely well groomed, wearing quality clothes, and they will be giving off what would appear to be a good looking vibe. He will also keep himself in good shape, highlighting good levels of personal discipline for diet and exercise. It's also something which comes from the ability, if a guy's got good levels of discipline, then invariably he's going to be pretty focused, motivated and driven, and whether he has money or not, is certainly a good bet to be a guy that will be able to project power and leadership now and in the future. And finally, and this is one that's often missed, high status men, not all, but generally, are adaptable and have wide-ranging interests. High status men and men that are adaptable and have wide-ranging interests, you need to be comfortable in a whole variety of social situations. This social acceptance thing would be indicative of somebody that's high value. So therefore, being able to slide into a tuxedo quite comfortably and go to a charity ball, at the same time as you can pull on your ski wear and head down a black run, or pull on your wetsuit and go surfing, all these kinds of things are highly attractive to women. Shows that you know what you want, you know how to enjoy yourself, and you can get what you want. So when interacting with women, it's really important to know the common mistakes before you start to do so. And these vary. There are lots of others, but I think the most common ones are, first off, a lot of guys go, "Oh, you're so hot," or some other compliment directly on their looks or their physique or something along those lines. Now, what do you think, guys? They get these kinds of compliments from every bloke they bump into, that they speak to, and it gets boring. And even if you think you're being original, the chances are, if it's something referring to what she looks like on the outside, then guys, you're onto a loser there. So first off, stop compliment on their looks. And certainly don't do it directly. If you do feel the need to compliment on something about them, looks or physique wise, then make it indirect. And so by indirect I mean, don't say, "Hey, I think you've got fantastic eyes," but say, "I really like tall brunettes with hazel eyes," or something like that. That's an indirect compliment, so it will more readily be accepted by her. And if she is the kind of girl that fishes a little bit for compliments, then I would suggest you went along an approach of giving her a compliment, but with a slight takeaway. So, don't. This is one of her tests to check for your compliance. And if you compliment all the time when she's asking for it, then it's showing that you're compliant. So what you would want to do is compliment her and then take something away. So, well, I do like blondes with hazel eyes. However, I think perhaps blue eyes would set your hair off better. So a little bit of opportunity to get her to then turn around and qualify herself to you. And she might come up and say, "Well, hazel eyes are the best," or something along those lines, and she's starting to qualify herself to you then. And that kind of directly runs into the next point, which is not spotting their tests. You need to be pretty keen. The more beautiful a woman, or the more attention women have from men, beautiful or not, they will have a larger number and more frequent tests. So you've got to be on your game. You've got to be pretty upbeat and playful and teasy and jokey with them. And just check when she's trying to get something from you. Kind of give her a little bit, but take away. Next one, obviously, I think is pretty obvious, and that's being over keen. If you're too keen, responding too quickly to messaging or to phone calls or to Facebook messages, emails, what have you, any form of communication, if you're over keen, you need to pull back a little, because it just won't happen with beautiful women, because the guys that they want, the alpha males, the high status guys, have multiple options, and consequently they won't be over keen because they've got other women, and if she doesn't show enough interest, then well, then there's the next one, isn't there? Okay, so you need to have that abundance mindset. And then obviously another thing is not looking beyond the exterior to qualify the interior. We've already covered interior qualities. Well, you need to start questioning her and asking her stuff about herself to try and find out what those qualities are on the inside, and try and get her to qualify herself to you with respect to those qualities. And then finally, I think if you do ultimately end up in a situation where she is interested in you, and that may happen if you're having fun and not too dependent on the outcome. You'll get a number, or you may even get a kiss, and if you're lucky, more, or good, you might get more. I say lucky is probably not the right phrase there, but what's really important is realizing that you are one guy who's got her number, who may well have kissed her, of very many. Beautiful women probably kiss more guys than they have hot dinners, and it's wrong, but that's what they do. You may feel that it's leading you on, but beautiful, good-looking women will have a lot of guys interested, and they will kiss a lot of guys. To them, it's nothing. Kissing a guy is not important. Sleeping with them maybe slightly more, but kissing a guy doesn't mean anything. Until you're sleeping with a beautiful woman, it really makes no difference. And any women, in fact, but in particular with beautiful women. So how do you prepare to go out there and engage and attract smoking hot women? Well, as I've explained, you need to turn yourself or be perceived as a high status man. If you don't already have money, great physique and reasonably good looks, then you need to adjust yourself to a certain degree, and this can be very easily done, mainly by just improving your dress and grooming. Wear things which would appear to be similar to guys that have high social acceptance, that are high value. Jacket and a good quality shirt. Doesn't matter if your jeans are designer or not, get some cheap ones, but get yourself a good handful of good quality shirts, Italian shirts if you can afford it, or something. eBay, sell plenty of reasonable quality Italian shirts for under $80 or so. Get a couple of those, and just make sure you're well groomed. If you have a beard or stubble, make sure it's trimmed and nice and tidy. I know that's quite trendy nowadays. Or if you prefer being clean shaven completely, then make sure it's a nice, close, clean, smooth shave. Make sure your hair's well cut. You've got a fashionable look, without being too young and trendy. Just get that right balance of maturity and fun. And then the next item with regard to your appearance, you need to be seen to get high social acceptance. So whenever you're in a location where you're meeting amazingly good-looking women, then you want to be seen to be friendly and accepted by everybody. Not reaching and needy, that's completely wrong. But if you talk to somebody that you're warm and friendly, and that people want to talk to you and they enjoy your company, that demonstrates high value. In particular, if you're talking to lots of women, that demonstrates even higher value. Your mindset, well, this is very important. You need to tell yourself, whether it's true or not, that you have a position of abundance. Abundance has immense power, and if you behave when you're talking to hot women in a fashion that you have you have some interest, but you're moderately ambivalent, you're not too concerned whether she's cute, she's fun, but if she doesn't show any interest to you, then well, you're not going to worry about it. There's plenty more. And you can show that by qualifying them, kind of just by putting your tests out, by checking about her qualities, to get her to start qualifying herself to you. That kind of mindset is very powerful. And there are a number of other things which you would want to do. Just think about some of the less attractive male film stars, for example. Why is it that they all have beautiful wives and girlfriends? What's their mindset? Well, their mindset is one of confidence, power, and abundance, as I've already mentioned. Now, the next aspect, which I guess is quite closely linked to mindset, is awareness. When you're interacting with women, particularly if they are confident, which invariably the majority of good-looking women are, although not all, you need to be very aware that they will try and test you, and they will play little games with you as well. So just be aware. I can create another video tutorial before too long about women's tests. In fact, I think I will do. But you need to keep your eyes open for their tests, and their tests come in a number of forms, and the little games they play. And you should instinctively know what they are, but I'll create a video tutorial on that before too long. Next point is obviously being accomplished. There's absolutely no point going out and trying to attract, even reasonably good-looking women, let alone hot ones, is if you haven't got your life together. If you haven't got your shit together, if you don't know where you're going, you've got no direction, no motivation, then it's going to be very difficult to convince a woman that your mindset and your life is in the right place. So get that sorted first. If you've got, it doesn't matter if you haven't got any money. If you're not particularly wealthy, you've got a job that isn't particularly, isn't particularly highly paid. As long as you're doing what you love and you have a direction and a focus and you have goals in your life, you have a purpose, that's fundamentally important. And whatever it is you're doing or comfortable with, if you're just a bum and you don't know what you're doing and you're stacking shelves in supermarket, then if that's what you've got and you haven't got any ambition to do anything different and no goals, you will really struggle to attract smokingly hot women. And then finally, and quite critically, the really best looking women don't generally hang out in locations where the average guy would probably frequent. So you need to think outside the box as to where you might meet hot women. They tend to gravitate to locations where high status people socialise, particularly in the evening. It may be that during the day you may find them out shopping, drinking coffee, like most women, eating ice cream and munching on chocolate in ice cream outlets or what have you. So in the daytime, if you're passing these kinds of locations, then keep your eyes peeled and approach the hot women that are there. You might also find them frequenting some of the upmarket bars in the bigger cities, larger towns, certainly those located close to major offices, town centres which get the after-work crowd, or you may well find them in the fashionable bistros near beaches and marinas and stuff like that, where there are, generally speaking, higher value, higher status people. You're most unlikely to find them in your local pub or club unless they're working there. But in particular, I would say you're more likely to meet them at the more exclusive clubs where you have to get on a list before you go in, whether you have to book in advance or pay for a table, VIP lounges and those kinds of things. So those are the locations, and if you perhaps check out your local area and identify your top half a dozen locations where they're likely to hang out, then you have some particular target areas that you can follow up on. So what to do next? Well, in part 2, I'm going to go through a little bit more detail about how you actually meet and attract hot women once you've done your preparation. I will be going through a number of things around how you can improve your social status and value when you're actually out. I will talk about what outcomes and goals you should have, how you can qualify the girls. I'll discuss rapport and positions, especially with regards to how dominant you need to be with beautiful women, and a number of other things. So keep your eyes peeled for the next instalment of this video and blog article. If you want to check out more on the Supreme Man, then please look through more of my blog articles. I've also got a couple of products called the Supreme Man and Text Game, and if you are watching this video shortly after I've produced it, I'll have some workshops coming up in June 2013, and you can find out some more details about those on my website. So thank you for watching, guys. Good luck with your girl-getting antics, and speak to you soon.